Buildy here. I'm outside now. Arabat district of Moscow. Pretty busy place. Choosing a hostel, I decided to get one near the subway station. And there she is in all her radiant glory, friends and neighbors. The subway entrance. My ticket to the rest of the city, economically. Show you around here. Look at this. In the far distance, you see the Soviet-style Stalin building. I like those. The Pinnacle. Look at that. The trolleybus. Electric trolleybuses. All cities of any size in America used to have them. Did you know that? I grew up in the Midwest. A lot of the bigger towns, they still had the tracks kind of half buried in the roads. What happened to them? How come they got rid of them? Lafayette had one. I think Danville had them. Kankakee, a lot of medium-sized cities had them. They've never got rid of them here. They still have them. They've had them since that technology came out in the 1890s. Actually, before that, they've had electric trolleys in cities since the 90s, all through the early 1900s. Europe, America, here. It just evolved into what they got now. Here in the U.S., they disappeared. They took them all out. There are hardly any anywhere. They tore the tracks out of the roads. They spent your money, spent your grandfather's and great-grandfather's tax money to tear up all the tracks. Why did that happen? There's a couple of books been written about it. John D. Rockefeller and Harvey Firestone, wonderful all-American entrepreneurs that they are, they're responsible for it. Harvey wanted to sell tires, and John wanted to sell gasoline, buses, and private cars with the most profit in their pocket. So they formed organizations and networks that were basically what we have now as NGOs. They didn't call them that then, though. Some of them were poised as charity organizations and advisory organizations, and they had all kinds of benefits for politicians to play ball with them. And the goal was to eliminate the trolleys and the electric infrastructure. So they had to use Firestone's tires and Rockefeller's gasoline. They made sure that the city council members that they got in their pockets, and they gave them sweet deals and vacations and who knows what else. There's ways. They had ways. They knew the ways. They got them to make sure and dig those tracks out and destroy that infrastructure. Sell those train cars. Nothing changes. Same thing's happening now with the electric cars, electric private cars, and the Internet of Things. Now they're coming up with a real efficient system where you have strip mining equipment burning billions and millions of gallons of fuel to dig up lithium and process it, so you can have a battery in your dream car. If you just burn that diesel in your car, you go where you're going to, it'd be a lot more efficient, wouldn't it? Instead of digging all that stuff up to make lithium batteries that only last a couple of years and then become hazardous waste. So what are you going to do about it? Let's do something. I have plans. What are these tall buildings? Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, it doesn't focus very good like that. I noticed every neighborhood in Moscow, you look down the street, and usually they're lined up with major thoroughfares. This is a little bit offset, but these Stalin-built buildings are really tall, always have the big star on top. Magnificent. It's the architecture that really works on a plain, on a taiga, on a huge lowland like most of Russia is. The Marquis de Custine mentioned that in his book. He wrote in, I think the title was The Empire of the Tsar in 1838. He's a prissy little French nobleman. It's a good read. He's very prejudiced. He's funny though, he's droll, he's queer. But I liked him. Oh, I recommended a book. Sorry. I'll recommend a movie too to try to balance things out, but it's a good movie. I'll recommend two of them. I'll put links to them. One is Russian Ark. Unbelievable, and it's kind of about Custine. The narrator or main character, whose perspective we're seeing through the movie, befriends apparently the ghost or the corpse or something of the Marquis de Custine, who's trapped in some sort of spiritual realm of the St. Petersburg Hermitage Museum. Anyway, it sounds crazy, but it's a great movie. It's also a technical marvel because it's all done in one shot. The whole movie was taken in one shot in St. Petersburg at the Hermitage. Everything had to be staged and ready to go, and they ran the camera through every place it's supposed to go through and took it all in one shot. In winter, no less, when you have about 4 hours of daylight or 5 hours. Yeah. Highly recommend it. Russian Ark. And then the other movie I'm going to recommend is The Island. In Russian it'd be Ostrov. Ostrov is a deeply Orthodox movie. It explains a lot of things about, if you're against organized religion, well, you probably should be. God's bureaucracy is not our bureaucracy, and most churches are our bureaucracy. I've had run-ins with spiritual apparatniks. They tried to kick me out of my son's christening. Yeah, that's another story. Oh, I'll tell it. We took our son to be christened, had it all planned, had it all paid for, and they have the regular part of the church. Ordinary folks like me don't go there to have their children christened. That's for oligarchs and rich people. And there was some oligarch there having, or some rich connected person having his son christened, or his daughter, I don't know, a kid, in that part of the cathedral. And then downstairs in the basement where they have a diorama of the siege of the Prince Vladimir, because this cathedral's in Khersones, Starya Khersones is historic. They've got a diorama of a war, and they got a little mini nave there, so they could have church services. It's just kind of an outrage having to have a war diorama in the church anyway. But it's the part of a museum, and the poor people and regular people have their kids christened down there. And we showed up, and there were several other people. And some nun, I guess she was a nun, came to us and said, have you fasted for 5 days beforehand? Oh, we weren't told about that. We're just presenting our kid to the church. It's christening, right? That's what the Orthodox belief in that is. Oh, if you're Orthodox, you want to straighten me out on that? Because I've had a lot of them do that. Save it. I don't talk to Bible lawyers. Don't have much use for them. I've had one American Orthodox guy tell me, ask me if he submerged a kid in the water. This isn't chrismation. This isn't baptism. This is presenting your kid to the church and to God, right? It's not the same thing. Well, if they didn't dunk him in the water, then it wasn't a real Orthodox church. This is the Cathedral of St. Vladimir. It's the first Orthodox church. It's the birthplace of Russian culture. And his bozos tell me it's not a real church. They don't do it the way I think it should. I just save it. Anyway, this woman told us we had to leave. The family was there, everything. And because we were honest, we could have just lied and said, oh yes, I've been fasting. But because we were honest, she's going to throw us out. And my Russian is not good enough because I wanted so bad to ask her, did you ask that rich guy upstairs if he fasted for 5 days? Maybe you should ask him if he's stolen anything or he's appropriated public funds for himself. Because he probably has if he's rich and Sevastopol. Why don't you go talk to him? But I couldn't articulate that very well in Russian. So I'm just standing there fuming. And I saw a priest. He looks over and sees her talking to us. And I can see by his face, he's like, oh no! And he comes running over and he gave her something else to do and sent her away. And he says, I'm sorry. This didn't need this. Don't worry about it. So this woman works for the church and they let her go around screwing things up and oppressing people, right? You know, in the first century church, they kicked people out for that. She's not working for God. But anyway, it's all good. The priest caught it and mitigated the damage and let us stay and present our kid to the Lord. Yeah, organized religion. That's not to be all against all of it, but this movie, Ostrov, it kind of shows you how God works through it anyway. You have to deal with what you've got to work with, and you got people. Ugh. Well, some of them are diamonds, but very few. So Uncle Buildy is going to have to get some supplies. I got a bag of instant coffee. I hate instant coffee. If you put a little milk, good creamy milk in it, it's not that bad. I'm going to get some cheap eats. Because I got a refrigerator and a kitchen I can use. That's nice. Sweet. I stay in hotels and industrial areas in America when I work there. And you got to improvise. Usually you got a microwave, but that's not optimal. You ever cook on an iron? There's ways of doing it. I started carrying a little hot plate around with me there. But anyway, here I got it pretty fat. I get back from Kaliningrad, I'm probably going to come back here to this place. It's pretty sweet. Nice neighborhood. There's no parks around here though. They're all private. These courtyards behind these big buildings have nice parks with playgrounds, but you got to have a key to get in them. It's just for the residents, which is fine. I could take the subway 5 stops down and be at the Red Square. It's nice parks there. Not today though. Maybe it'll be a little nicer tomorrow. I'll take his there. At least the wind's not blowing. I'll find a place where I can have a smoke. I still got 2 cigars left. I haven't had a chance to smoke one because it's always too much wind. It's such a waste. Anyway. Ostrov and the Russian Ark. Magnific. Best movies you could watch. Highly recommended. Uncle Buildy signing out.